and action. Oh, it's shaking. Okay, right. I've recently made a video about Messiaen's third mode, and I've had really lovely response. Most people have been really kind and said really nice things. Some people seem, it seems like some people just want to be mean. Anyway, maybe they don't. Maybe I'm taking it the wrong way. Maybe I'm overly sensitive. But this is, I need to introduce myself. This is who I am. Look at this box. It's got my name on it. Anyway, my name is Stewart Hurwood. Stewart, S-T-E-W-A-R-T. Stewart. Like Mozart, but it's got Moz on the front of art and I've got stew. That's because I'm a stew artist, so I'm good at making stews. Right, now, something you've got to know about me is I'm a guitar technician. I'm going to read out my resume. It means I've got to put my glasses on, which makes me really feel like a crazy old guy, which I probably am. Right. Lou Reed, hang on, no, stop. My name is Stewart Hurwood, you did that bit. I am a great British guitar technician. Well, it's a bit up his own arse, but it's okay. I've lived and worked in New York for over a quarter of a century. You wouldn't think it, but I'm a New Yorker. Yo, Tommy, yo, Tony, give me some coffee. Anyway, Lou Reed. I worked with Lou Reed for the final 9 or 10 years of his life. The initial couple of years I won over Lou's trust, became his right-hand man, recording both live gigs, recording and even doing live gigs, professional work. I don't record, I'm not a recording engineer, I'm just a guitar tech. I basically ran the Camp Lou, officially titled guitar technician, crew chief and a stage manager. The lines blur between the positions, I did loads of production stuff, I did loads of shit, I did everything in Lou Camp. Everyone will tell you, ask any of the techs in there, they'll vouch for me. The work was musically diverse. It included collaborations with The Killers, Renée, Fleming and the Czech Philharmonic Orchestra, The Strokes, The Gorillaz, Laurie Anderson, Metal Machine Trio, Metallica and numerous benefit gigs with artists including Pete Townsend. I actually introduced Lou Reed to Pete Townsend. Yes, I did. I got a story and I'll tell it if you're into it. Elvis Costello, Moby, Dave Navarro, Martha and Rufus Wainwright, Yoko Ono and Sean Lennon. So I used to be really worried about speaking out because I have speech problems and I get nervous. But I'm just gonna keep going. Fuck it. I don't care anymore. Where was I up to? Yeah, we did Berlin. There was a 7-piece orchestra, and I learned a lot about orchestration from the orchestra were the same guys that played on the James Bond theme tune, and I got to play guitar down, 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 down. I got to do all that with. Do you know that the low trombone is a low E? And that means there's 9 feet of pipe, is what they told me. Anyway, it's brilliant. So I can tell stories. Took care of Lou Reed, ran the back line out. I was stage manager, crew chief, overseeing, setting up, you get it. Steely Dan, 2013. I toured the US for 3.5 months with Steely Dan, this time taking care of Walter Becker, John Harrington and Freddie Washington. I designed 3 guitar vaults that housed 36 instruments on the road. In addition, there were another 12 guitars on the tour bus travelling in the shower. That's not a lie, that's all true. Walter Becker was buying shit every day. It was unbelievable. Brilliant, but crazy. I assembled guitar rigs for both Walter Becker and John Harrington. This was a multi-amp and pedal board setup. Walter's was a stage setup that had 6 amps. He had loads more. One night, he said to me, on the 3rd song, I want you to come out and put the pedal board back the way it was yesterday. And I just left him doing it because he used to unplug it and just play. Anyway, I pulled it off. I'm going to tell you tips to be a guitar tech, things like that have happened to me that maybe will help young technicians. So that's it. And guitarists, there's a lot of stuff I know about guitars. Clearly, I've been doing it for 30 odd years. No, I've been professional 30 years. I've been doing guitars all my life. I should be a great guitar player, but I'm not, and I'll get into that later. So let's carry on down because I've got loads to tell you. Duran. I usually just say Duran, but no one really knows who I'm talking about. I've performed in the capacity of a guitar technician numerous times over the years, that's true, with all 3 guitar players in Duran. First was Warren Cucurullo, who, Frank Zappa, everyone. It comes from Zappa Camp. Missing Persons and Frank Zappa. Warren, mad as a mongoose, great fun, amazing pop writer. He wrote Come Undone and Ordinary World. He's brilliant, but he's mad as a mongoose. I can only take him in small doses. You can imagine me and him together. We're absolutely nuts. Anyway, the last guy, then Andy Taylor came back, the original guy. Andy Taylor was someone that I really looked up to as a kid because Andy's a year older than me and Andy's like a rock guitar player playing in a pop band. It's exactly what I want to do. I want to play rock and metal guitar in a pop band like Duran Duran. Have you seen the audience for Duran? Even now, I guarantee you go there, it's going to be loads of mums and daughters, you know, beautiful looking women. That's, you know, all this stuff you want to do, all your Messiaen third mode and be metal and stuff. You're not going to, you know, the women are not going to come for that. Do funk. I've also worked with Nile Rodgers, but we'll get to that. Lastly, Don Brown. He's a session guy. He's played with Elton John, Justin Timberlake. I once elbowed Elton John on his 60th birthday. I smashed him in the elbow with my, smashed him in the chest really hard with my elbow. It's a total accident, and Elton was brilliant. He could have had me thrown out. He didn't. He was very cool. Love Elton John. Love his music. Don't know much about him, never worked with him. Coldplay, I looked after Johnny Buckland, he's the guitar player, and he's one of the sweetest guys you'll ever meet. I did that on the European and American legs of the X and Y tour. This was about 2006. This was the biggest production I've ever been on in terms of trucks and video walls. It was absolutely amazing, but it was lovely because they're such a nice band. And I got stories with Chris Martin and stuff. Johnny Buckland gave me a Les Paul at the end of the tour as a thanks. And I'll tell you the whole story, and it's really emotional. I'm getting... Stop it. The Cult. I toured with The Cult numerous times over the years. The Cult, that's C-U-L-T, The Cult. Billy Duffy, everyone. Brilliant rock guitar player. In addition to guitar, I rebuilt his and wired Billy Duffy's, he had a Bradshaw system. You know, everyone did it back in those days. It's a big multi-amp setup. His was, we were using AC30, JC120, two Marshalls, and a PA power amp. There's a secret to doing this, and I can tell you what we did. The rig was 120 dB. That was 11 feet from the wall of Marshalls. 11 feet away at 120 dB. Have you ever played a G chord through something that loud? Or an E chord? My God, you've got some stuff to, you know, I've had some experiences. Anyway, Scissor Sisters, I performed guitar, technician. I built stuff with Del Marquis and Baby Daddy. They're really lovely. I got a real lesson from Baby Daddy. When I first picked up his guitar and I started going through the presets, I thought they were awful. When the band came in and played, I was like, oh God, that's why he had that weird sound. It fits perfectly. It's like, there's a lot of stuff that guitarists don't get, you know. And anyway, so I can fill in on, if you're interested, and most of you won't be, you think I'm this troll or this crazy, I don't know what you think. I don't really give a shit either. Paul Weller. Now this was quite interesting. I only filled in for a guy for a couple of weeks, the guitar tech, I forget his name. He's a nice guy. He needed to get off the road for 2 weeks. Sometimes as a guitar tech, you just jump in and get it going. I filled in on guitar duties with Paul Weller, not Paul Weller, but his guitar player. Paul's guy is Roger, and Roger's been with him forever. Roger's great. And anyway, so I did his guitar player. I don't mean I did him, I looked after him. And he said to me, Paul Weller said, I'm a big fan of Metal Machine Music, which is Lou Reed's album that nearly killed his career, and I can talk about all of that. I did Sam Smith for a while. That's just, I went to Australia and Japan on TV promo thing. I did Jingle Bell Ball in LA and New York. Most horrible experience ever, except for the fact that I got to stand backstage and watch Taylor Swift perform the night before, and she... You know, I was behind. I'm looking up at Taylor Swift. You can imagine how great that was. Like, she's brilliant. I like Taylor Swift, and I'm going to tell you why. Taylor Swift paid her crew a lot of money so they could buy houses. Now, I guarantee this is how that went down. No, I'm going to tell you later on. You know, if you're interested. None of you care about all this stuff. It's only me and two seagulls who give a shit. Nile Rodgers and Chic. Now this is important because when I was a young boy, I was a rock guitar player. I loved Paul Kossoff was my guy. I like Paul Kossoff, Mark Bolan, all these guys. Ronson with Bowie, obviously. Like, I was a rock guy. But then disco came out and the girls were going to the disco and dancing. So I ambled along and I really got into Chic, as did Duran Duran. Everyone loved Chic. Now, I got to work with Nile Rodgers, and I took care of the hit maker. I had to carry it around on my back and not take it out. It's worth $1 million. Did it stay in my hotel room? Yes. Did I play the arse off of it? Yes. Can I tell you all about it? Yes. Did I go against all odds and do what shouldn't have been done? Yes. I changed his strings. You never meant to change Nile Rodgers' strings. Now, I played it so much and stretched it in that he had no idea until 3 gigs later. He said to me, are these strings new? And I said, no, didn't put them on no, I didn't. No, that's not what happened. He said, did you put these strings, are these new strings that you put on today? And I said, no. I wasn't lying. It was the right move. It's the same thing with Ryan Adams. I got into it with Ryan Adams. We went to Edinburgh in England, and his guitar, beautiful guitar, a Collins guitar, the D string was fucking awful. It sounded terrible. It told me specifically, do not change the strings on this guitar. He told me all sorts of stories about things he'd done with that guitar. Some of that is pretty funny actually, but it sounded terrible. Now as a guitar tech, you've got one or two things. Either you listen to the artist, you know they're going to have a bad gig because it's going to sound shit, or you balls up, man up, and just change the fucking strings and make it sound good, and you play the arse off it. Now, the problem was I was jet lagged. I did put the strings on, I played it, but he came in a bit early, and he asked me outright, he said, did you put new strings on? I said, yes. And he got really angry and he said, you know, blah, blah, you know, LA. I said, you're not in LA, you're in Edinburgh, and the air is really moist and it's horrible. Anyway, I pulled it off. At the end of that gig, he gave me a high five and he looked at me. He didn't say, you know, you were right, but he did. Good enough for me anyway. I like Ryan Adams a lot. He's nuts, absolutely mental. Way more mental than me even. Right, I've also taken, this is interesting, I've taken care of numerous solo artists. Tom Morello, I've worked with Tom Morello, Rage Against the Machine, not in the band, but as a, you know, when he was the night watchman. But I also did, I put strings on, you know when he goes, I didn't trust the government, I didn't trust the music industry, I didn't trust this. Do you know who he did trust? He trusted me. What a fool. No, he trusted me because I'm good, because I'd looked after him, and he's got a great sense of humour. I can tell you some stories. Me and him really laughed a lot. We worked with Ben Harper, and that also took, we went on and did, what's his name, Jimmy Fallon's show. I've worked with Jimmy Fallon. Well, it's all down here, let me talk about it. Let's see. Steve-O I worked with, he's great. He showed me some capo trickery. Laurie Anderson, I love Laurie Anderson. I've performed with Laurie Anderson many times. Bill Laswell, Alison Mora, Mike Rathke, Lou Reed's guitar player, Zach Starkey from The Who, he's an old friend of mine since we were little boys. Not little boys, but young men trying to be rock guys. Who else? Robbie Shakespeare, rest in peace, the great bass player, played with his thumb, all upstrokes. No one knew that. I could tell you stuff about this. Tom Verlaine, I worked with Tom Verlaine Television. Richard Lloyd, I'm a huge fan. Richard Lloyd is the reason why I got into the cycle of fifths and fourths. I can talk about all this stuff. Right. Trojan Records in Jamaica, Zach Starkey set up this record company and he flew me out there to record all these reggae artists. And it was brilliant. I worked with Toots, Big Youth, U-Roy, Tony Chin. You've heard Tony Chin, he's on every Bob Marley record. He does all the skank guitar, they call it. Oh, that's all upstroke stuff. Tony's lovely and he's a really good singer, good songwriter, and you know, we had some laughs out there. Yeah, and I got to actually play. Robbie came in a day late, so I got to play a bass part with Sly Dunbar. It absolutely shit me out. I couldn't believe that I was playing with this amazing drummer. Sly is such a lovely man, really good. I met Cyril Neville there as well, and we talked about the blues. I got right down to it, like right into the nitty gritty with him. I can talk about all this stuff if you're interested. The whole album was recorded in A equals 432. No, actually we did 5 albums, but that actual studio, the resonant frequency of the studio was A equals 42 and 432, and I can tell you about all of that if you're interested, but most of you are not. There's only me and 2 seagulls and give a shit about all these details. I was responsible for setup, intonation, tuning of all strings. Yeah, Robbie Shakespeare's action was that high, about 3/8 of an inch. I never do the Stu Mac and put root. I do everything by feel and sight, you know. You spend too much time looking at fucking scales. Stu Mac will sell you a scale or a gauge to gauge how many scales or gauges you've actually got. No, I shouldn't put it down. I use their tools all the time. They're great. I love Dan Earlywine, I think is how you say his name, and because he made Albert King's guitar, dude. That's it for me. And he's really lovely. He's a great guy. He knows a lot of stuff. Never met him. I did write to him once. I thought he'd write back, but he didn't. But I don't know. So yeah, the final thing was Ryan Adams. I did that, and they were 3-hour shows a night, and it really tested me because I had 12 strings, like not good, you know, real porn. He seeks out really weird guitars, you know, from porn. They call it pawn shops where people. Anyway, Echo is a great guitar. It's an Italian guitar, but they can be real fuckers to work with. But anyway, I pulled that off. I've also done Rickenbacker's 12 strings with Coldplay, and they're a fucking nightmare as well. But I can tell you all this stuff. I'm not meant to swear though. This is the trouble. I've got to try and clean up my act. So that's what I've done. Now, just to validate this, I've got tour books to Cole. I don't know if you... that's in mirror image now. I can't even read it. It says... I'm going to read it out to you. Stu, it's tough at the top, but even tougher at the bottom. It's total Billy Duffy, that. Lots of love, thanks and respect. William Henry Duffy. Love Billy. He's a mate of mine. This is Lou Reed, Berlin. I am there. Guitar Tech stage manager. Right. Exhibit A, Your Honour. Johnny Buckland, it was a pleasure to work with you. I've never seen someone so adept at using Velcro. I'm the prince of Velcro. Tommy Nordegg, who's Steve Vai's tech, is the king of Velcro. I took over Warren's position in Duran from Tommy. Tommy's great. Respect to Tommy, he's brilliant. Love Johnny. Johnny gave me Les Paul. I told you that bit though. Who else? Crew. That's another Lou Reed. I've already done Lou Reed. Lou Reed, I did another tour with him. I've worked with him for nearly 10 years. What I wanted to show you is some of these people, these artists, draw cartoons of me. This, Paul Weller, drew that for me. Stu, many thanks, mate. Paul Weller, top guy. Right, I've got to show you this one as well. I mean, look, they write all these great they write nice things about me, and it's nice. Who's this? Coldplay. There's a cartoon of me that I wanted to show you. Oh, that's Steely Dan. Steely Dan. This is John Harrington. John Harrington wrote this. He wrote, Stewart, thanks for rocking my guitar world. Fabulous job. Yeah. Glad you were here, John. Brilliant guitar player. John's lovely. I've got to find the Coldplay one and find this cartoon of me. There you go. Chris Martin drew that. That's me. Chris Martin. Original artwork. Drew me. Oh, I got to get something. I won't do it on this video, but I dig out. I got to Donald Fagen likes to put these composite. He does Photoshop on the road, and he gets photos of all the crew, and he puts you in famous old movies. He did me. He put me in a movie with John Wayne. It made a picture of me with John Wayne from a movie and Marilyn Monroe. Really great. I mean, I'd only been in the gig for about 2 weeks, and apparently you're meant to be there for quite a while, so he gets your personality. But I guess he knew that I was crazy, and he was fine with it. Right, now, what am I trying to do? Right, I'm trying to impart knowledge. Music theory part that I've got is very, very intense. It comes back, way back, it dates back to 100 years before the Roman Empire. Pythagoras, it's right back from, Pythagoras. Now, you might notice that I look like Leonardo da Vinci's man. Look at the work of Leonardo da Vinci. He uses mirrors, he writes in code. There's a lot of palindromes and mirrored reflected scales in the cycle of this. That's coming from Leonardo da Vinci, who's quoting Pythagoras. Now, a lot of this stuff is going to sound like I'm nuts. Don't worry about it. I'm also writing science fiction. I'm also starting to become an actor. I'm writing this film about this guy who's I've stolen the idea from Townsend, Pete Townsend. I met Pete Townsend, I told you. Pete Townsend always says to me, who do you remind me of? I'm like, I don't know. He goes, I know you from something. I said, yeah, because I've seen you so many times over the years. I said, Alan Rogan, your guitar tech, me and him are really good friends. I was really good friends with Warren Haynes' tech, who's Brian Farmer, rest in peace. So I know all the guitar techs. I know a lot of them because we meet each other on the road. And if they're cool and I'm cool, we get on well. And I seem to get on well with, not everyone. Some people hate me. I can get it. I'm really annoying on the road. I'm full of energy. I'm like hyper all the time. I'm not. And this is what the film's about, manic depression. Hendrix. I could talk to you about Hendrix and stuff and manic depression. And I can also give you advice, psychology of working with artists, what you should say and what you shouldn't say and how you should act around them. And it's not what you think. Most people get this really wrong. If you want to get close to an artist, you've got to be very careful about how you handle it and what you say and what you don't say. I've been fortunate. I was considered like the guitar whisperer. They would call me out for the bat. Like Billy Duffy at one point was like considered a really terrible man, and we get on great now. But the hour that he's on stage, we're all old now. We're over it. But anyway, back then Del Marquis was meant to be problematic. He's a pussycat, lovely. Lou Reed, obviously problematic. So I've done some people. I don't usually find it. I just think they're really looking for something, and I can help them get it, and I can probably help you get it. So anyway, but the music theory thing is very serious for me. I've been studying it for 15 years. I didn't go to college, didn't do any of the things. I need to thank Rick Beato and Adam Neely, those two guys, and along with that guy, Hello Internet, Tomazillo. I'm one of his guys, I'm one of his students. I got the Modes book. The other guy that I need to show respect to is Richard Lloyd. I got his DVD and he taught me about the circle of fifths and circle of fourths. I worked with Tom Verlaine, and Tom Verlaine said, Tom, I got a rapport with him where we become friends. And I said, Tom, what about getting television back together with Richard Lloyd, And he goes, it's never going to happen. Richard's insane, he's nuts. And I said, really? Like, I've got one of his DVDs, and Tom Verlaine said to me, you don't believe all that stuff, do you? You know he's nuts. And I said, I didn't want to say, yeah, I do believe it, because I was just working it out. Now, similarly, I got into this real problematic area, and I had to go to see Walter Becker. I was like friends with Walter Becker. I was doing the whole thing about the major scale has got the note F in it as the fourth. But I've been doing the cycle of fifths, and that's F sharp, and I was really confused by all this. And I went to see Walter Becker, and I'm not going to tell you in this episode, but I ended up buying the George Russell book on Lydian theory, which I've not even finished that. It's $120. Walter Becker said to me, buy it, you must buy it. I'll give you half, we'll figure it out on the road together. I just bought it. If Walter Becker says to you, buy a book, you buy a fucking book. Right, Rick Beato has really educated me in a lot of ways. I met Rick Beato briefly at the AES show, just before I think it was a year before the pandemic. I walked over, shook his hand. I was with my friend Matt Brown. Matt Brown was Lou Reed's monitor engineer for the last 9 years of Lou's life. Great guy, he's a great producer. He plays great guitar. Anyway, so I can talk about things on the road. I can talk about setting up equipment. I can talk in many different ways. You can see I'll talk like that hind leg off a donkey. I can go for hours like this. Now, what I want to try and do, I'm in real trouble. And this is the other part of it, and I'm going to get emotional, but I'm going to try and hold it back. I broke my hand up when I was 17, and I always said all my life, that's why I'm not a good guitar player. But people would say, what about Django Reinhardt? What about Tony Iommi? There's people that have injuries. Now, once again, Rick Beato interviewed that Julian Lange guy, who's a great guitar player, and he's a really spirited man. I really like it. He thinks very similar, abstract. I like his thinking. But he's got, I think it's called focal dystopia. And I realised that finger, anyway, because I smashed it up, there's a whole thing. I want to get into the psychology of repairing your hand. And what I've been doing, check this out. It's like, did I tell you about, I'm born in 1962, like same as Rick Beato. I'm 62 years old. I was born in 62, same as Rick. He's just had a birthday. I'm older than him. Right, so what else happened in 62? Marshalls were invented. Marshalls made their first amp same year I was born. These came out. Fender Jag. Why are Fender Jags important, you say? I got this in a weird tuning. Why are they important? 24-inch scale. One of the most famous guitars on the planet, made by an astrophysicist and his father, 24-inch scale. It follows on with my theory about 12s. 12 frequencies in the cycle of fifths. 24 is bass 12. We did everything in bass 12 back in the day. You're playing music in frequencies per second called hertz, but that's frequencies per second. You're writing music that's in BPM, beats per minute. This is all 60, it's all bass 12, which if you see, it's very easy to complicate things, which it's sounding like I'm complicating things. It's very complicated to simplify things. Not bass 12, bass 3, 3, 6, 9. This is what Tesla was talking about. If you learn the magnificence of the 3, the 6 and the 9, you will have the keys to the universe. Notice the word keys. Note that there are 12 keys in the musical cycle. 12 keys. Keys to the universe. Could be key. Anyway, so I'm working on the theory that music is simply a byproduct. The word music comes from two words, muse and magic. Now, I've become this crazy old guy. I've reverted back to being 9 years old. When I first discovered music, when I first got a guitar, actually at 6 years old, I picked up a friend's guitar and I tuned it into ostrich tuning. I didn't even know what that was then. Years later, I worked with Lou Reed. He's the guy that's accredited with that. Although it's not him. Jerry Vance actually did that. I'm cramming lots of information in, and it's too much for you. But what I'd like to do is, I don't know how to do channels. I obviously don't have a guy like, Joe Rogan's got Jamie. He's got a guy. Bring that up, Jamie. And Rick Beata, I think, has got Billy or someone. Rick's got interns or people to help him. I've got no one. It's just me, and I don't know shit about cameras or computers. I know about guitars. I've got lots of stories. Now, the recovery of my hand. You know how Rick did that video soon? Oh, if I could relearn the guitar again. Well, you can. I'm relearning it with all the tunings that I learnt when I was 9. Anyway, see, I get carried away and it sounds stupid, but when I slow this down and I start showing you what I'm actually doing, you're going to be like, the next thing, like, wait there, I've just got to grab another guitar. This is what I did. Looks like the same guitar, doesn't it? Strings are up the other way. I haven't tuned it or anything, don't know where it is. Now I've got to think upside down. I'm under pressure. I have performance anxiety, which is why I was a tech. I was in a band for a while, and at the time it didn't bother me, but something happened. Once I realised how many things can go wrong with your guitar. When I was a musician, I was fine. When I became a tech and I realised how many things can go wrong on the stage, I got so terrified. That's why I was able to deal with Lou Reed and people like that, because they had the same anxieties. Anyway, so I can't show you it now because, like I said, I'm too hyped up. I'm really nervous. I'm trying to get everything in so that you guys know that I'm legit, that I'm the real deal, that I'm not full of shit. Well, I am full of shit, but it's good shit. So I'm doing comedy, stand-up comedy as well. Crazy stuff. But I tell you what, I've got a gift. I can walk around the streets of Brooklyn and I can make people smile and I can make them laugh. It makes me emotional. When I play my guitar, I get emotional, but I cry tears of pure joy. And I'm going to try and I want to teach people to play. This is the next part. I'm going to turn over, because how many people on the planet that influence music really heavily are left-handed? There's a lot. Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain, Tony Iommi, Albert King. Duh! Albert King, people. Right, so I'm going to learn. I always thought I wanted to play I always thought left-handed guitars. Elliot Easton from the Cars. They're so cool. When you play left-handed, it's so cool. No one can figure out what you're doing either, because it just all looks backward. But I'm going to learn all that. And that's a part of what I want to teach people. I teach you ostrich tuning. I'll teach you all the Jimmy Page tunings. All the tricks that Jimmy got up to in the studio. I know all that shit. Let me show you something else. Same guitar, look, except it's not. It's a 30-inch scale, and these things are fantastic. It's making my hands strong. I'm doing bad technique. I always do that when I'm panicking, but if I sit down and just think about it and actually like calm the fuck down, I can really play some good stuff. Not brilliant, but good enough. Good enough to make me happy, and that's what's important. Most of you out there are treating music like a job. Oh, I got to get this through. Oh, I got to do this. I've got to work at it. You've missed the point. Look at Keith Richards. He does the least amount out of any person on the planet, and he gets the most fun. If we were an investor in the stock exchange or something, that's the way to be. Put a little bit in, get lots out. He's lived a happy life. Oh, I don't want to do this. That's your ego talking. If you want to do all that, fine. If it makes you happy. Steve Vai's happy doing it. If you're happy doing it, it's for you. But a lot of you are not. A lot of you are miserable. I've worked with a lot of guitarists. You're miserable. you don't feel you're good enough, whatever it is, you know. So I've given up on all that. I'm really happy with what I'm doing. I'm making great progress. I'll tell you what, I'm going to be a really good guitar player. A lot of that stuff that, what's his name, the young guy who Rick had on, who's brilliant, I love him, that technique where he's doing the up thumb, that Robbie was doing that, Robbie Shakespeare showed me that. I was doing that as a kid, just not as good as it, like I'm not as good as it, I'm rubbish, but anyway. I think this has been a long enough rant, and I think it's given you an idea. Who is the real Fat Shady? Will the real Fat Shady please stand up? I'm the real Fat Shady, I'm a bit of a fat bastard, but so, what am I trying to achieve? I want to set up a video. I want to teach people to play left and right-handed out the gate, right out the gate. Don't get caught up into this whole thing. You know, like if you can do both, and you expand your mind at twice the rate. It's like it's really incredible what happens. I want to teach you about the drones. I didn't even talk about the drones. I'm a drone wizard. What does that mean? I have guitars in ostrich tuning. I've performed all over the world, over 260 odd hours of guitar feedback. Guitar feedback, look up Jimi Hendrix, The Electric Church. Jimmy knew low frequency feedback on the guitar would put his audience into what he called a childlike trance state, where he could suggest things to them. Now Jimmy wasn't mind control, Jimmy was peace and love. But he knew the power of frequency over the human mind. I want to do things on the psyche. I've done all this stuff. When I was in the south of France, Anselm Kiefer, I can't say that name properly, he's a top artist. Look him up, Anselm Kiefer. Like Kiefer Sullivan, I think he spells it. And Anselm, I don't know how you spell that. I'm dyslexic, all right? I think Rick Beato is too. I think Rick had learning difficulties, and I did. I couldn't do anything at school except I built a Martin D28 replica when I was 15 years old. I machined all the knobs for electric guitars in the lathes in the school. I could do metalwork, woodwork, and technical drawing, which we did in the old days. We drew that with, what? 60 degree, 30 degrees, and 90 degree angles. Where did we get that? Pythagoras. It's in the circle of fifths. It was on the cards I was going to learn all this stuff. It was in the cards that I was going to be a musician, a music teacher. I'm going to learn the psychology of it and teach you psychology and the power of frequency, the real power, about standing waves and what can be done. Not just guitars, like proper stuff. I've performed with John Zorn, Bill Laswell and Laurie Anderson at an Olnett Coleman tribute in Brooklyn, where Olnett was there. I met him, I shook his hand. And also Thurston Moore was there and Nels Cline, two amazing guitar players, and they both went maestro when I did feedback. So, you know, I've done that. I've played in St. John's the Divine. It's the largest cathedral on the planet. I did 5 hours in there, and over 5 hours I got the guitars to stand up balancing, feeding back. Not leaning against the amps, standing up, feeding back. I'll tell you all about it. If you're interested, you need to put it in the comments. You need to know that I'm not a troll. I'm not saying everything I'm going to tell you is true. It's what I'm working on. But I've seen things in a different way to most people. Why? You can tell. Look at my personality. I'm totally different to anyone else. You've not met a guy like me. I might look like someone, you know. But, you know, I'm a unique individual, as are all of you. So, that's been... I can't even see what the figures... My eyes are shit. That's been a long time. So I'm going to just... How long is it? Maybe it's too long. See, I don't want to edit anything. Fuck me, it's way too long. I need a video editor. I need someone to tell me how you make money from videos, how I can put something together where I can talk about all these different things, the history of the drones, you know, feedback, psychological stuff from musicians, overcoming injuries. I want to set up an institution for recovery of muscle, memory, and also memory. I want to, you know, I know a lot. I've read a lot about this stuff, and I've experienced it. Yes, frequencies will put you into altered state of beings. I've done that. I did 8 hours of guitar feedback one day. Actually, I did 8 hours one day, and I kept doing that every day for 9 days at the Dark Mofo Festival. 9 days was too much. It was like very exhausting. But I can tell you some experiences from that, if you're interested, but most of you are not. So anyway, I think that's it. Cheers. Thanks. If you have got this far, and I know that's been very hard work, I appreciate it. And honestly, the encouragement I got from the comments is like, I'm going to go for it. I've been sitting on this stuff for so long. I'm going to go for it. And cheers.